I'm standing in what used to be my grandfather's living room. Rubble everywhere, splintered pine beams tossed around like broken bones, shattered windows catching the afternoon sun, the hand-carved railing he shaped with a drawn knife over 3 winters now mashed flat under a bulldozer track. And all I can smell is diesel and 60 years of stolen memories. Yeah, this is how the story begins. 5 days ago, while I was in Memphis laying my father to rest, they demolished my family's cabin. No warning, no permits, just a bulldozer, a smug HOA president named Constance, and a forged court order. She must have figured I was just another grieving son too broke and broken to fight back. But here's the thing, she picked the wrong guy. See, my name's Marcus Aboa, county building inspector for 18 years. Every demolition in this county is supposed to cross my desk. Every code violation, every secret, every dirty trick. Yeah, that's my wheelhouse. And Constance just handed me a felony, wrapped up like a housewarming present. What would you do if your HOA destroyed your inheritance while you buried your family? Seriously, drop it in the comments. Where are you watching from? I bet your neighbor has an HOA horror story, too. Let me back up for a second. 6 weeks before this all turned to dust, my dad died of a heart attack on a random Tuesday. Found him in his recliner, Braves game still playing, 73 years old. I was his only son. The cabin was supposed to be our retirement plan. 2 old men on a dock, teaching my daughter Sienna how to gut trout the way 3 generations of Aboa men learned. That place wasn't just a cabin. My grandfather, Hank, World War II vet, master carpenter. He built it in '63, took him 2 years, every beam, every joint, every railing by hand. I can still smell the cedar and fish cleaner, the cold bite of well water in August, the dockboards creaking at dawn, loons calling across the lake like church bells. When Hank passed, the cabin came to me. Dad would use it weekends. Then after he died, it was mine, fully paid off, the only legacy I had after nearly 2 decades of government paychecks. Sienna's 24 now, living out in Portland, graphic designer. That cabin was going to be hers, you know? But 12 years ago, some developer bought the land around the lake, dropped in 87 McMansions, and with them came Pinewood Shores HOA. $450 a month, rules about mailbox colors, lawn height, paint, you name it. Kingdom of the clipboard. Enter Constance Whitmore, real estate broker, Boston transplant, always smiling like she's trying not to bite you. 7 years as HOA president, perfecting the art of ruining lives while just following the rules. The kicker? My grandfather's cabin predated that whole circus by 43 years. Grandfathered in, untouchable. I had the surveys, original permits, continuous family ownership, the works. Constance didn't care. She cared about control. 3 days after Dad's funeral, while I was still in Memphis, she mailed a certified letter, notice of noncompliance. My cabin was a visual blight, she said, affecting property values. 14 days to repaint it beige, tear down the dock, remove the tool shed, or they'd do it for me, at my expense. The letter cited covenants that didn't exist when the cabin was built, legal jargon, impossible deadline. While I was burying my father, should have called a lawyer. Instead, I tried to reason with them. I'm a county building inspector, for God's sake. I know the law. I requested an emergency board meeting. First mistake. It was in Constance's McMansion, in a room she called the clubhouse, 6 board members lined up like a firing squad. I brought the documents, original permits, the deed. Constance didn't even look. We sympathize with your loss, truly, but your cabin drags down property values. Rules are rules. I tried to explain, cut off again. We've consulted attorneys. 14 days, or we take corrective action. Which meant demolition, and her son Dale, contractor, runs Whitmore and Sons, was sitting right there, just waiting for the vote. So, I left, thinking I'd handle it properly, file an injunction, talk to the county attorney. After all, I'm not some random homeowner. I approve their building permits. Surely they'd follow the law. That was mistake number 2. 5 days later, while I scattered my father's ashes in Memphis, Constance sent the bulldozers. My neighbor Lyle, 71, retired fisherman, called me on video. 3 trucks, a bulldozer, Constance on my driveway with her clipboard. My coffee cup hit the floor. I called the sheriff. Someone's demolishing my property at 47 Lakeshore Drive, without permits. On Lyle's video feed, I watched the bulldozer blade bite into my grandfather's porch, Watched that hand-carved railing splinter like kindling. The dispatcher said, "The HOA says they have a court order." I said, "There is no court order. And here's what else they don't have: demolition permits, asbestos inspection, hazardous waste disposal." Silence. "This is a civil HOA matter. Contact your attorney." And that was that. I booked a flight home. Watched them on Lyle's phone as they smashed 60 years of memories. My grandfather's toolbox, my dad's fishing rods, the photo albums, the skillet my grandma used for cornbread. They weren't careful. They didn't care. By the time I landed, drove the 40 miles back, it was over. Golden hour on the lake, everything quiet, cabin gone. Just a concrete slab, splintered lumber, glass glinting like broken teeth. Smelled like diesel and sawdust, and something sharp, chemical. There was a laminated sign staked in the ground. Per Pinewood Shores HOA Bylaw 14.3, non-compliant structure removed. Restoration costs $32,700. Invoice to follow. Constance Whitmore, HOA President. I stood there, hands shaking, not from grief but from a rage that felt cold and pure. She didn't just destroy my family's cabin. She was going to bill me for it. Pulled out my phone, checked the county records. No demolition permit, no asbestos certificate, no hazardous waste permit. Constance had just committed 3 felonies and created an environmental hazard, all while I was burying my father. And she thought I'd be too broken to fight back. I didn't sleep that night. Sat on the slab, watching the lake turn from black to silver to gold. Started making a list. Not a revenge list, a documentation list. Because building inspectors, we don't get mad, we get methodical. First, file a police report. Detective Carla Reyes met me at the station. She already knew, had seen the property. "Marcus, this is solid felony destruction of property. But HOA cases get complicated. Their bylaws don't override county law," I told her. "No permit, no asbestos inspection, no nothing. You need a lawyer," she said. "Call Judith Kwan." Judith's a legend. Destroys HOA boards for sport. When I walked into her office, she just said, "This is low, even for Constance. Can we sue?" "We're going to sue, but first, we're requesting every HOA financial document from the last 5 years. Sunshine laws. HOAs are nonprofits, and they have to disclose finances to any member who asks. And when a president is brazen enough to illegally demolish someone's home, they're usually stealing in other ways, too." Judith starts digging. Meanwhile, I start doing routine county inspections, my job, after all. Pinewood Shores is due for its rotating inspection. Dale's company built 11 of the houses in the last 3 years. I check every one, find code violations in all of them. Missing fire stops, bad venting, dangerous deck railings. 63 failures across 11 properties. Dale's company wasn't just shoddy, they were systematically dangerous. By the end of the week, Dale calls me, furious. "You're inspecting my houses? Retaliation because of your shack?" "No, this is me doing my job, which is more than I can say for you." Then Constance calls, "You're abusing your position." I told her, "Explain why you demolished a structure without permits, asbestos inspection, or my approval." "I'll wait." She went silent. Then Judith called, "You need to see this." She'd found the smoking gun. Pinewood Shores collected $470,000 a year in dues. Only $290,000 spent. $180,000 a year missing for 3 years. Dale's company got paid 3 times the market rate for landscaping. Constance's Lexus lease, spa visits, meals, all billed to the HOA. And then, an email from Constance to Dale, 3 days before the demolition: "Handle the ABOA problem permanently. Bill it as emergency remediation. Usual split." Dale replies, "Done. He'll be too broken to fight back." My hands shook reading that, but not from fear, from resolve. They planned it, calculated it, meant to profit off my grief. Then the twist. While searching county archives for old deed restrictions, I found something nobody expected. The original 1959 deed for the whole area, including Pinewood Shores, had a paragraph stating, "Demolition or removal of any pre-existing structure required unanimous approval from the county board." Violation meant the land reverted to county ownership for public use. Constance didn't just destroy my cabin. She violated a restriction that predated the HOA by 43 years, one that could technically put the whole neighborhood's titles at risk. We built the case. The mandatory HOA meeting was coming up, 3 weeks away. That's when we present everything. Constance tried to fight back, bot farm Facebook attacks, bribing my neighbor Lyle to get me to drop the case. He recorded the whole thing, including threats, a formal complaint to my supervisor accusing me of harassment. It all backfired. My boss dismissed her complaint. Sienna's Instagram blew up with people sharing HOA horror stories, and Lyle's recording added witness intimidation to the list of Constance's crimes. The night before the meeting, I felt calm, like I'd already done the hard part. The community center was packed. Cameras, news crews, neighbors standing in the aisles. Constance opened the meeting, tried to dismiss the accusations. Judith stood up. "He has the floor." I walked to the front, showed slides. My grandfather's cabin, Lyle's demolition video, the forged court order. The room was silent, except for gasps. Then the spreadsheets, $180,000 unaccounted for, Dale's inflated invoices, disbarred lawyer, Constance's spa bills. The smoking gun email, handle the ABOA problem permanently. The room erupted. I showed the code violations, photos of attic fire hazards, deck rails too low, venting mistakes. Parents panicked. Dale tried to shout. Detective Reyes stepped forward, and he sat. Judith dropped the final bomb, the 1959 deed. The whole neighborhood could lose their homes, technically, thanks to Constance's illegal demolition. But we had a solution: criminal prosecution, HOA dissolution, county oversight, restitution, no one innocent punished, the guilty burned. Detective Reyes read the charges. Constance and Dale arrested on the spot. Cameras flashing, crowd erupting in applause. For the first time, justice looked exactly right. After the chaos, Judith outlined the next steps: restitution, asset liquidation, third-party inspections, voluntary association, recovered dues returned. New interim board elected. Lyle, Mrs. Nova, Rebecca the teacher. I proposed restoring public lake access, rebuilding the dock, dedicating it to my grandfather. Hank's Landing, Lyle said. Everyone agreed. I set up a scholarship fund for local kids wanting to learn trades, the jobs that build real communities. 6 months later, on the first warm spring weekend, I stood on the new dock, the rebuilt cabin behind me. 23 families had helped raise it, barn-raising style, just like my grandfather would have wanted. Sienna's advocacy platform had grown nationwide, stories pouring in about ordinary people standing up to petty tyrants and HOAs gone wild. Constance pled guilty, 6 felonies, 3 years in prison. Dale too, company dissolved, paying settlements for a decade. The stolen funds were returned, checks averaging $6,000 per family. The scholarship awarded its first recipients: welder, carpenter, HVAC tech. The new association? Voluntary, transparent, dues slashed, houses painted whatever color folks wanted. Property values actually went up. They say justice is slow, but sometimes it's worth the wait. I became a symbol for something bigger than one old cabin. If your HOA is treating your home like their kingdom, remember, you have rights. Check the laws, talk to neighbors. Don't assume you're powerless just because they have a clipboard and an attitude. And if someone comes for your family's legacy while you're at your lowest, well, let them learn some people know how to fight back. So, if you've got your own HOA nightmare or any story about standing up to a Karen who thought she had all the power, drop it in the comments. You're not alone in this. Share this story with someone who needs to know they can fight back. Want more justice tales? Hit subscribe. Because revenge is a dish best served cold, but justice? Justice is always worth the wait.